So I want to take a step back here because I'm very interested in your personal story and Code Pink and the founding and how we get to where we are right now. What made you want to become this legendary anti-war activist? What was it in your childhood that happened, or please explain for people?
Well, I didn't want to become a anti-war activist. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to. I used to work for the United Nations. I wanted to be a healthcare worker. I wanted to feed hungry children. But then, first of all, I was born during the Vietnam War days, and there was this aha moment for me when my sister's boyfriend was sent off to Vietnam, and 6 months later he sent her a present, and it was the ear of a Viet Cong to wear around her neck. And I thought, this is sick. This is sick. How could you take a nice young man and turn him into a monster? And so I became active in the anti-war movement. But after that, I wanted to do something to help hungry people around the world. And so I studied public health and nutrition. I started traveling around the world. I spent time in Africa and Latin America. And I saw there the effects of my government. Every time that there was a government in place that wanted to do something different, that wanted to really change the distribution of wealth, that wanted to make sure that kids didn't die of malnutrition, there was my government trying to overthrow it. And so I thought, wait, I don't want to be the person putting the Band-Aids all the time. I want to get to the root of this problem. I came back to the United States. I studied political economy. I learned more about how the world works, about the power of corporations around the world, the history of my own government, which I learned from people in other countries. It took me going to Guatemala to learn that our government had overthrown their democratically elected government. I went to Iran and found the same thing. I mean, you travel the world and you see the way that our government has destroyed so many beautiful possibilities of another world, a different world where we take care of each other, where we feed each other, where we love each other, where we don't kill each other. And so I reluctantly became involved. And Code Pink started, I had co-founded a group called Global Exchange. And there it was to take people around the world to see the world from other perspectives. Because, at that time, I don't know what it is now, but only 5% of Americans had a passport. They didn't travel outside the United States. And I think seeing the U.S. through other people's eyes is so important. So that's a lot of the work that we did as Global Exchange. But then after 9/11, seeing how the U.S. was using that as an excuse to invade countries from Afghanistan to Iraq, we were at a meeting of women environmentalists and said, what are we going to do to stop the U.S. from invading Iraq? And that's when Bush had, you all might be too young. Do you remember the color-coded alerts?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
God bless
So
you for
he
thinking
had
I'm
the
too young
yellow,
for that.
the orange, the red, and it was meant to keep people in a constant state of
That's
fear.
right. Yeah, that's
so
right.
we said we need another color-coded alert. We were going to call it Code Hot Pink because we didn't want to be Code Pink. It's too girly, Code Hot Pink. Except we found that the URL was taken by a porn site. So we couldn't be Code Hot Pink. We were just plain old Code Pink. And I must say, we lost a lot of women who were like, especially the New Yorkers who only wear black. I'm not going to be in a group Code Pink,
But
funny. Anyway, over the years, I think we've recovered a lot of those people. But that was the origins of it. And we never thought we were creating a long-term group. We didn't want to do that. We were all involved in all kinds of other important issues. I was doing issues around sweatshop labor. I was fighting against Nike and Reebok and Adidas for what they were doing overseas. I mean, we were doing things that you could actually see the progress. You could say, oh, this factory changed its conditions. These 20,000 people are now getting paid overtime, those kinds of things. But after 9/11, we felt we had to do this. And we thought, if we do our job as citizens and really organize and mobilize, we couldn't stop Afghanistan, that invasion, but we could stop Iraq. And we did everything we could. We were part of these massive, massive mobilizations where even the New York Times called us the second superpower, the grassroots movement.
That's incredible.
And yet, we couldn't stop that war.